0. Odwrócił na miejscu, Zinnivan, czy poradzi sobie z midlane Rekkles Gaming, bardzo dobry timing, losu kajtuje, ale no!
Eats this chaos all over the map. X7 are ahead of the play. Goodbye, Doom.
Now Shikari's in trouble. He's going to try and find his way out. Wait for the Shadow Surge. And the Rocky just goes wide, but a final auto secures it anyway.
Vive la France, allez les bleus et bienvenue. Oh, I've messed that one up. And bienvenue to the Amazon European Masters, aka the LFL Mid-Season Cup Semifinals, where a French clash between Karmine Corp and Vitality.Bee awaits us tonight for a spot in the Grand Finals on Sunday. I'm Medic, joined today by Trouble and Gulborg.
The finals are on Saturday, by the way.
It does say Saturday. It did say Saturday. Well, I messed up two things in the intro. Yesterday, I was really good. I was on point. Today, kind of messing up at the first hurdle. But yesterday, we did see LDLC stay undefeated at the Amazon EU Masters with a total 12-0 record. Moving on to the finals, they'll, of course, play the winner of today. But yesterday's series was so dominant from our French team.
It was very dominant, and they've been so the entire tournament so far. 12-0, as we already highlighted. This team is looking very scary coming into the finals. They did drop the ball a little bit in Game 3. It's also something we saw them do against the likes of X7 when they were playing them. But the thing that makes them so scary is that they're able to stay composed. They're able to just take the finally take a breather, find their scaling aspect into the game, and then all of a sudden just turn the tides in a game that should have been unwinnable.
And I love that we mentioned that, because what we have been highlighting LDLC for is their impeccable team fighting come mid to late game, especially since we've mentioned that they play a more slow game in the early game. And honestly, whatever hurdles have been thrown their way, and especially from a Go Rogue as well that had the Gamer Legion duo in mid jungle, no matter what weird wacky picks that were thrown their way, as long as LDLC got their picks and got to play their slow game in the early into mid to late fights, they ended up winning.
It was a great performance by LDLC across the board, and specifically by Yike, who I think put on a stellar performance in that series. It does mean, of course, we have a guaranteed LFL versus LFL finals for the first time in EU Masters history, and also the first time we've ever seen two teams from the same region face off in the finals.
I'll give you another fact right here for another first in Amazon EU Masters history. This is going to be the very first time that a region will win the back-to-back 3 times in a row champions.
Yeah, and it feels like, I mean, it's not even been close from the side of LFL. It has been incredibly dominant.
Only won the NLC next finals.
But it's been no surprise just yet. And the thing is, we haven't actually seen an LFL team play against an LFL team yet in a best of 5, and it's so weird because this is probably the first time that we'll actually see them challenged in the LFL playoffs. Well, it pretty much always went to a Game 5. So far in the Amazon European Masters, we've had 3-0s or 3-1. It haven't really been that close.
We'll see if we get 5 games today, but as we head towards tonight's series, Munchables caught up with K-Corp's head coach Striker to talk about the LFL dominance.
Thanks very much, Medic. Yeah, I'm here with Casey Striker over from K-Corp. He's the coach, and it has been ever since the very start. So first off, Striker, welcome to the show. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
So I want to start just with kind of the history of K-Corp. Obviously, K-Corp has gone from being started in 2020 and is now one of the biggest, most successful European organizations in esports. Like, you've had a first perspective seat for all of that. Like, what's that journey been like for you, watching the organization grow so astronomically?
Actually, it's been pretty fast, right? Because as you mentioned, K-Corp was created in 2020. It was in Division 2 back then, and I joined them in the middle of the year. And yeah, that was really fast. We went from Division 2 to LFL First Division in the span of a few months. And the owners are really eager, you know, to like have a development that is not going to last long. You know, they want to go LEC. They wanted to go LFL when they were in Division 2. They always try to aim for the higher leagues. And so I think it's this drive and also the community that we have that made this growth really possible, I think. And for the first part of your question, it's been a pleasure to work with the K-Corp overall and to see the growth of the organization. Now we have offices, we have everything. It was not the case back then. But yeah, everything is going so fast. So it's nice to see everyone and also the other games coming in.
Yeah, it feels like everything's officializing, right? And that's kind of true for the whole league for the LFL. Like, I'd love to get your perspective from the inside of the LFL about the growth of the league, because this will be 3 EU Masters now in a row that the LFL takes the trophy home. Possibly even K-Corp takes the trophy home. Like, what do you think is the secret sauce there? Like, how is the LFL just outstripping every other ARL now?
I just think we have first a base of player that is quite high on the ladder. You know, like the French player are really up there on Master Plus. So from the second division and even below, we have a lot of players to choose from for the staffs, and a lot of them have the right attitude and are dedicated to the game. Like in esports in France is huge, and there is a lot of young people that want to go pro. So I feel like we have the player base to sustain this LFL league. And after that, I think the league viewership, because of the fans that are really involved, is making everyone play for LFL or wanting to play for LFL. I feel like every off-season, there is a lot of offers that go from NLC team, LVP team, LFL team. But for talking with some pros, a lot of them want to be in LFL because, well, they know that there is a lot of attention towards it from the fans and from the ADC as well.
Yeah, that's where the talent is. That's where everyone wants to be. Thank you so much for joining us for the interview, and good luck today in your games.
Thank you very much, Munch and Striker. It is actually very impressive to see how quickly Karmine Corp have risen through the ranks, winning, of course, the last 2 EU Masters that we've seen. And it all started with the 2021 spring roster. Trouble, what was it about this roster that made it so powerful in EU Masters?
I feel like because nobody knew the name and the org, right? And there was a bunch of names that have previously played in EU LCS or LEC, such as Syncroft, SAKEN, and Targamas, but they didn't necessarily achieve too much. K-Corp took them in, gave them a second chance, put in 2 rookies that they believed in as well, in the likes of Adam and Xmati, and they achieved something great, the back-to-back.
They definitely did, and obviously the roster did change a little bit coming into summer. Adam going up to the main Fnatic lineup, and then we saw the experience that Karmine Corp were willing to put their hat on, willing to rest their hat on in the form of Cabochard in that summer.
Yeah, I definitely feel like also with the stylistic that K-Corp has to the team, you know, they were very weak side bot, let Targamas roam out on the map. We want to play towards top type, facilitate a player like Cabochard as well, and he just fit into that like perfectly as soon as he came into the roster. It was the exact same style. I'd even argue that he played the top lane better than Adam might have done as well in that tournament. He was my MVP, at least for the top side, last tournament as well, and he's been absolutely phenomenal ever since he joined the team.
Arguably maybe the best top laner that we might have this tournament as well.
I mean, I hear some rumors for Szygenda as well, but we'll get to that later on. Obviously, the team then developed coming into 2022. They didn't have the best LFL regular season. You know, they were the 4th seed coming out of the LFL. And the question is, like, how do we feel this team can then develop into EU Masters?
I think develop is a very good word for that as well, because all of a sudden with the stylistic that this new team had to bring was completely different than what they did in the past, right? They no longer had Xmati on the weak side. They no longer had Targamas, who was such a roam beast that we've also seen in the LEC. Now you had to build from the scratch again, even with veterans coming through, like the likes of Rekkles, but you're also building around rookies, like 113, you had a phenomenal split at the European Masters just last year, but it's about finding this new style. We weren't always going to play topside. Sometimes we could skirmish on bot side now as well, and I think they just needed to find their footing in terms of what their style was, and in terms of growing as a team, they've grown in terms of the stages they're playing at. They went to the LFL stage, coming to European Masters, they just look better and better and better along the way.
Just development and development and improvement and improvement, and we'll see if Karmine Corp can keep that going today. Now, on the other side of the matchup, Vitality.Bee convincingly secured a spot in the semifinals. And Trouble, I know you have a specific player that you want to highlight from their 3-0 versus Fnatic last week.
Thank you, Medic. And I know we do not talk a lot about top laners, and I just said that maybe Cabochard could be the top laner that we have in the tournament right now, but I would also really like to raise a case about Vitality.Bee's top laner, Szygenda. And I have 2 clips here with me on his own versus Fnatic TKZO that I would really like to highlight. So just to give really quick context right here, what's happening on your screen is that, as you will see, Fnatic will try to shove in the mid lane to try and get priority over River, but then they end up coming through this choke point right here, and Szygenda is camping that mid-side entry. Now, what's really important is that he will put his little cone right here, denying the entrance from the Fnatic TKZO lineup, which means that they have to all bunch up. The second that they do so, he will charge his ultimate and get 3 people. And once this is happening, you see how the entire Vitality want to move forward. But look at him. He's literally zoned 4 members of Fnatic Team KZO on his own, whilst his teammate, the Maxi from Fnatic, is trying to make a play, but he's zoned out of 4 members. So at this point, Szygenda has done all he needs to do onto that own. He got the knockup, he zoned them away, and as we keep playing the clip, Maxi is going to die from overextending because his 4 teammates were not there. And at the end, thank you so much for the fast forward as well, at the end of the day, Vitality.Bee will also grab this dragon. It gets a little bit too close for comfort, but they get it in the end. Now, the most interesting thing is this clip right here, and I really want to draw your eyes on the fact that Szygenda has the exhaust. Now, of course, he's playing with the spellbook, but top laners are not very used to using the exhaust. Now, right here, what's happening is they're starting the Baron. Diplex is going to try to play onto this side of the map to try and zone Fnatic Tikezo away, but then you see what happens. Diplex will get caught right here by that event horizon. And what does Szygenda do? The first thing he's going to do is place his pillar right there so Fnatic Tikezo cannot actually advance forward. And the next thing is, once Diplex has been caught, he knows that Veigar is gonna go all in. So what he does is he instantly exhausts the Veigar, which means that all of the damage has been completely mitigated. And he gets the knockup later on. So this is somebody that has been a champion previously in Amazon European Masters back in 2020 summer with a Go Rogue. He's played on the big stages of the LEC. He's dropped back down to the ERLs, and he's looking to make his way back up again.
He's definitely looking to make a name for himself today, and that top lane matchup is one I think we really have to focus in as we get into the meat of this series. Szygenda up against Cabochard. Goldberg, when you look at these two, how do you feel they're going to match up stylistically in the laning phase and throughout the game?
So I feel like in the laning phase, at least Cabo, he really loves being on the carries, right? Szygenda has shown much more versatility. He's been on the Akali, he's been on the Ornn, he's been on the Camille. He's pretty much, whatever you can put in that top lane, he's been on it, right? But I think when you go up against Capo, you're playing against a player who's incredibly gifted fundamentally. He's incredibly experienced as well, and he's just very hard to punish. And when he gets enabled by the team, which he quite often will, well, then you're not really playing on even footing. I think Szygenda, he's playing a little more isolated.
And he definitely can be. And the question is then, do you think that Szygenda can deal with that isolation trouble?
I mean, I'm looking right behind me right now, and I'm looking at the stats between Cabochard and Szygenda as well. And we've mentioned how aggressive Cabochard really likes to take. He's taking a bunch of first places here, right? Damage per minute really high. He's second, first special goal per minute, NCSD at 14. He's an absolute beast on all of his aggressive champions. But this guy plays Ornn, and this guy plays tanks. And he's still pretty close to all of these numbers that Cabochard can produce. But also he has a wider pool, because he's played from assassins to tanks, to facilitators, to AD carries, to everything you want in the top lane.
And then you will start to see how these two match up when we get into the game and get into the draft specifically, with that Ornn being a possibility for Szygenda, with Cabochard looking to try and isolate the 1v1 or maybe the 2v1 with the junglers coming up there. It's going to be a very key focal point for this series.
100%.
But alongside that, I think you have to look towards the mid lane. A name that is not on enough people's lips, in my opinion, is Diplex. Like, this guy has been stellar for Vitality.Bee.
To me specifically, Diplex has been the most fun mid laner to watch at the European Masters. And it's because he brings in a fresh style as well. He's probably the only good Vex player I've seen in the tournament as well, but also he's super fun to watch in these 1v2 scenarios where he will outplay the opponents. Not something we see that much in competitive League of Legends, but it's also the impact he will have in a team fight. It cannot be ignored. When he finally gets his mechanical prowess down, it'll look like an entire different team fight. Like we'll see here, finding charms like this that are so clutch, finding key members to just blow open everything. He was a key member in the victory against Fnatic Team Quest, and I think today's matchup, he's going to try and be the same.
And I think it's very important to mention as well how he's so brand new to the scene. He's a brand new rookie, and he has been slotted into a team with 4 ex-LEC players. And now he has to go against the back-to-back champion in Amazon European Masters, somebody who has also been wanted by the LEC, but stuck his guns into K-Corp.
And I think with SAKEN, you have to look at him as this experienced head, this guy that has been around the block a few times now, and that experience pays off in a bunch of different ways, not only in his ability to make calls on the map, but also in his champion pool to a degree. You look at how many champions this guy plays that can impact the map and that can roam around. The Rise specifically, if you actually compare the champion pools of the two, they are so widely divergent that you wouldn't really think you're looking at the same lane at times.
And that's why this matchup today is so interesting as well. On the side of SAKEN, we have a completely different style that's all about opening up the map instead. The likes of Rise and Twisted Fate have been the champions you name with SAKEN for the longest time ever. But Diplex champion pool is so unique as well. Yes, they share the Ahri, but the Vex, as I mentioned earlier, Silas as well, specifically into champions like the Tia for Ahri as well. And then the Malphite we also saw, it kind of just gives you a different kind of versatility all of a sudden, and the way mid lane is going to be played today is going to be very different that we've seen at other matchups in the tournament.
It definitely is. Before we get into the game, before we get into picks and bans, so let's have a quick look at your predictions. We'll start with you, Trouble, very quickly for me.
No, you can start with Goldberg.
We'll start with you, Goldberg, very quickly for me. Where are we going to go?
You know, I posted yesterday on Twitter that it was going to be Vitality taking the entire tournament, so today it's going to be a 3-2 for Vitality.
A 3-2? I'm just going to say, Earlier on, he said 3-1, and I called him out for being a little bit scared of who was going to win. Like, he said 3-1.
And Medic thinks
Vitality,
K-Corp is going to win.
I do. I think K-Corp's going to win. It's going to be a 3-1 for them.
Scared, I'm going to go with a tradition. It's a 3-0 for Vitality.Bee.
3-0 for Vitality.Bee, 3-1 for K-Corp for me, and 3-2 for Gorborg. It's time to find out which team completes the All-LFL Finals. Can K-Corp keep their hopes of a three-peat alive, or will Vitality.Bee buzz their way all the way to their first ever Amazon EU Masters Final? Munch, over to you.
Thanks very much, guys. We've got a bit of a... Well, look, it's good that the Bees are back on form. They've been endangered for a little while now. We've got an all-LFL semi-final. We've got an all-LPL caster desk for it. I'm joined by Dagda and Orcs. My name is Munchables, and I cannot wait to get into this one. Not only is the game going to be a banger, but I love casting with you guys anyway. It's always so much fun.
I mean, this is the first time we get to try cast as well, so I'm just super excited.
Dude, I'm vibing. I'm ready. And I feel like this series as well is set up to be a banger.
Yes. I feel like this is going to be insane, and we're already into picks and bans. K-Corp on the blue side, Vitality.Bee on the red side. Now, gentlemen, I know you guys were talking very in-depth about what you're expecting from the drafts today. So, Orcs, let's start with you. What are you going to see?
Yeah, I feel like K-Corp has a bit of an edge in the draft because there's a lot of picks Vitality.Bee kind of have to ban away from them that they don't necessarily play too much themselves, particularly things like the Rise, which is a signature pick for SAKEN. Vitality.Bee haven't played it at all this tournament. LeBlanc as well, which you've just banned away now. So I feel like especially on red side, they're very limited by having to ban a lot of these things.
Yeah, and then you start to look at some of the power picks as well, especially with the VITB taken off the board. It feels like Karmine Corp are kind of looking towards things like the Ahri for that first pick, the Volibear, also another strong pick that we can see, but actually going to take the Ahri away here. So looks like they're probably going to ban like the Lee Sin, Jarvan here for on Vitality.Bee, and maybe you end up with the first pick Volley.
You don't have to worry about the mid lane if the mid lane doesn't have any picks left in it.
Yeah, I mean, they are really heavily targeting it. I feel like it's an interesting one from K-Corp. I honestly expected this from Vitality.Bee, but K-Corp, I think they had a lot more room in their bans, and they've opted to go for the Olaf as well, away from Skeanz, which, you know, he still has that Lee Sin to fall back on, so I think Vitality.Bee are fine, but they will go for the LeBlanc, Rise, Jarvan. This is probably their three most banned champions across the past couple of series.
Yeah, and that's going to be the Volibear as well. So I do feel like Skeanz is going to probably fall back towards the Lee Sin. Xayah, probably the other pick that you're going to see picked up here. Just such a strong bot laner here for Jeskla, and something that I don't think has a huge amount of answers. But one of the things myself and Ox were actually talking about backstage is that you don't see Jeskla playing the Misfortune a lot, but we have seen Rekkles bring out that Misfortune counter pick twice so far, and it could be good here.
Yeah, I feel like picking the Leona obviously gives you priority and an impactful support, but one of the issues is now, you know, with the jungle pool, you kind of have to pick in that jungle on the third pick, which means if K-Corp take a mid here, which I kind of expect, you don't have as much space to answer. And honestly, if Vitality.Bee don't pick up a mid lane in the first three, we've already seen 4 banned out, the pool can get really thin.
Certainly can. It's going to be the Zeri coming on through, and probably not the Asol here. But it could be another support to answer. Could be the mid laner themselves. We'll have to see.
I kind of would prefer to see a mid lane pick here. SAKEN has gone back towards the Azir, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I think when we saw SAKEN on this Azir pick, he did massive damage, but the lack of early control and the lack of ability for SAKEN to move into side lanes, I think really hurt Karmine Corp in their quarterfinals. I would have preferred to see something like a Twisted Fate or something along these lines where he has that opportunity to go to side lanes, but this is a big threat in the team fights.
And here's kind of the issue, though, is that they have to pick that Lee Sin up here. It was certainly going to get banned if they left it. You're up against a Volibear, but now mid-pool is going to get cut even more. I do agree, though. I feel like the Azir was more for neutralizer pick. We often saw it picked into the Rise. Interesting force so you can be taking the blind.
I'm a little concerned about Diplex here as well. We already set it up as Diplex is going to be one of the key focuses for the side of Vitality.Bee. In their quarterfinal, he was definitely one of the key carries for the team. He's going to be running out of picks after the bans. I wouldn't be surprised to see more mid-bans after this all.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we see... Well, I think he's still got options, right? I think Silas he can still run. I think he's still got the Vex as well. If you'd really like to, you can do relatively well into those matchups and you should be all right. I think the question, though, is like, how do Vitality.Bee want to try and like come across this, right? Because I do think leaving, like, obviously the counter pick for Szygenda is probably your best bet, but with Nara taken off the board, the Ornn gone now as well, you're kind of looking going, well, what do we actually get in the top lane for Cabochard? Because maybe he wants to go towards something like the Camille, which I think could work just as a blind pick, but a lot of those mega tanks are going to be gone, and they're the ones that actually ban Camille.
Yeah, a bit of an interesting one. We could even see the Jace come out as a priority for them, something we do often see blinded if they want to put pressure towards it. And you do have the the Volibear early, who's very good at leaning towards those side lanes. Ultimately, Vitality.Bee, I expect them to be taking the mid laner here and ensuring that Cabochard doesn't get counterpicked.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of big question here for Cabochard is like, do you end up just falling back? He's been more of a carry-oriented champion, but I nearly feel like they're setting up for Sion with the Camille and the Ornn ban, and you're kind of playing towards this big, beefy front line, playing for the team fights, and honestly, I think that can make a certain amount of sense, because I feel like a lot of what Karmine Corp and Vitality.Bee is going to come down to is those team fights at neutral objectives.
Well, it's going to be that Vex that you guys talked about locked in for the side of Vitality.Bee, and now K-Corp have to decide how to round out this composition. With a Braum there, you instantly know that with that Azir, with that Braum, they're playing a kite back, they're playing a play safe in these fights.
Yeah, we see the Graves coming out, which, you know, I definitely think earlier in the split was something we often saw as like a neutral blind. There's definitely things like the Trinimid that can punish, but I think Vitality.Bee can really go any direction to answer this. It's not going to have too much pressure on the lane. The Braum's an interesting one. Traditionally, a big counter towards the Leona that can shut it down quite effectively, but it does limit the engage tools on your composition.
Yeah, that's the big one when I look at it, is like, you've got this Braum now, you don't have something like a Leona that can come through, because that's always been taken away, the Nautilus gone. It's like, well, what do you really have left? And Szygenda actually going to go across towards the Gwen, so something I think that struggles a little bit in the early laning phase against the Graves, because you've got that nerf to the range, you're not able to play as aggressive as you used to in that matchup with the nerfs that came through previously, but as the game starts to go on, I think this works perfectly, right? You've got someone who can just play that front line, Graves can't really deal damage, the Zeri, the Azir all will struggle to actually deal damage to Szygenda in these later fights.
Yeah, I feel like the Gwen definitely going to struggle in terms of prio. I feel like mid as well, Azir, once he gets rolling, can really start to establish control. So I think K-Corp, we often see them try and establish an early lead, but I do feel like if they fall behind, they lack some of the tools that maybe Vitality.Bee have in terms of getting the fight rolling.
Yeah, it feels like with K-Corp, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you guys are the brain boxes on the desk, they need to be on the objectives first, right? Without that engaged tool, they need Vitality.Bee to play into them, but you kind of have to be ahead for that to be your win condition, right? For the enemy to need to come into you, you got to have control of the map in the first place.
Yeah, and I definitely agree, and I think that's why Ox is kind of highlighting like the priority there, like not having it in top can make that a little bit tough, not having a huge amount of it mid can make it a bit difficult as well, but I think we're kind of relying on Skeanz to play that early upset on this Lee Sin.
All right, well, we're on to Summoner's Rift for game number 1 of our second semi-final, and it is all French flags at the top of your screen. It's the LFL against the LFL, and this was the matchup we were robbed of in the LFL playoffs as well. Neither of these teams played against each other across the course of the LFL playoffs, and Vitality.Bee, despite being the 4th seed coming into the tournament, actually did better against BDS Academy than what K-Corp did in the LFL playoffs, so they've probably got a bit of a chip on their shoulder coming into this.
And honestly, Vitality.Bee as well, going up against Fnatic Team Crasher, who a lot of people thought were going to be a front runner and a favorite for the Superliga coming in, and frankly demolished them. So definitely looking a lot stronger than their seeding from the NFL implied.
All right, let's talk early game, because already 113 is being aggressive. And let's be honest, 113 being aggressive, not a sentence that's rare here in the Amazon EU Masters. What's the game plan here for 113? How does he get that lead that we were talking about before?
I feel like a lot of what you want to do here for 113 is kind of like facilitate the push that you already have in your lanes, right? So I like the early vision control they're trying to go for, like track Skeanz and play for counter gank a lot through your solo lanes, whereas you're still going to struggle a little bit to kind of be more proactive, because even if you look at bot side, right, not a big engaged support, you're kind of relying on hopefully one of the Qs landing from Hantera to set something up, but you don't really have anything that can enable 113. So if he's flashless, you don't really have a way into it, especially with no Predator.
And I think critically as well, you could definitely see really powerful counter ganks from the side of KC. You know, you have mobility in the mid lane and the top lane with the dashes they have. You have a bot lane where if you overcommit into them, very much can turn it around. So as much as I think Skeanz has better setup in the lanes to gank, I think if 113 tracks him, they should feel comfortable.
See if they're going to be able to track Skeanz across the course of this early game. You can see he's pathing up towards that top side, as is 113. So we could have a bit of a collision up in the top side of the map.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to highlight, though, because we're probably going to see 113 going for these ganks, is like the gold difference of 15 that we see coming out from Karmine Corp. Because this team has been absolutely insane when it comes to their lane. You look at like the gold per minute, there's only about 100 gold per minute difference overall between these two teams, Karmine Corp and Vitality.Bee. But when you look at the gold difference of 15, it is monumental. You're looking at about 1,700 gold difference of 15 for Vitality.Bee. You're looking at 4,200 gold difference for Karmine Corp. They are so
not
good
bad, is it?
I know. They are so good at denying their laners, their enemy laners, from getting in and actually getting any sort of CS. And that's why everyone pretty much across the board has these massive CS differences at 15. They're actually top across all lanes. So I think that's why we're kind of seeing this draft from Karmine Corp, where you can play through these lanes and use 113 to facilitate.
And, you know, we're talking about 113 113 being aggressive, liking to go for these invades, like we're seeing right here. He goes towards the chickens. That's all the more easy when you've got these lanes that like to win. Skeanz is going to contest, though. The junglers just sort of giving each other a bit of side-eye over the chickens. 113 does smite it away in the end, and SAKEN covering his jungler. So, nice small win there for KCOP.
And using the power that you have in your lanes and establishing a bigger lead. That's what we expect to see from KCOP. And typically it's what we need to see, because your point before, Rob, about how they have a massive goal difference at 15, they feel very comfortable in that position, but later on, I feel like Vitality.Bee starts to find the edge in how they play the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Vitality.Bee team fighting just takes on a whole new level comparatively to Karmine Corp. So that's why I'm keeping my eyes on here to see if 113 can facilitate these plays. And looks like he wants to facilitate Cabochard right now.
Looks like he wants to facilitate a bit of a dive. Szygenda drops the emote. He knows what's coming. Time for the brawl. Underneath the tower, Szygenda trying to survive. Has no flash, remember, but doesn't seem to be mattering so far. The re-dive coming on in. 113 not tanking right now. Bit more damage would do it. Cabochard flashes, though. Clean dive from KCOP.
Yeah, it looks like we might get some more action boss side.
Oh, Rekkles in big trouble. Hantera, though, stacking up the stun onto Skeanz, and actually, Skeanz is the one taking more damage. Jactroll finally into the fray. Skeanz DPS and trying to burn them down, but Summoner's still available. And it means actually KCOP saw winning the trade. No, they're not. Skeanz goes in, tries to finish it. One more hit, and the feathers fly.
And you know, there's a lot of confidence in KCOP with the Braum and those tight skirmishes, but ultimately you're in a 2v3. Vitality.Bee bring enough members to find it, and look at this massive wave.
Oh,
this is so painful.
It's a heartbreaker.
I mean, look, you're the AD carry main Munch. Like, you can see the pain on any AD carry's face.
Look at the
when you
CS
see that.
difference.
It's absolutely insane. And this is what I wanted to see from Vitality.Bee, though. It feels like when you look at Vitality.Bee and Karmine Corp, they kind of have opposite sides of the map they like to play towards, and we're seeing it play out right now, right? Karmine Corp very much focused around Cabochard, and they do play this wonderfully, right? Wait for the hollowed mist to drop on Szygenda, then they get the follow-up. Cabochard rightfully blocks, or he tanks the wave here, so then he's not in too much trouble. If it flash out, you don't give it the low health Volibear, and then this was just a great setup from Vitality.Bee on the bot side.
Yeah, critically the difference here is that Rekkles doesn't have TP unlike the top lane, where obviously you get able to see the Gwen TP back, and also they stacked a massive wave, so even if they didn't find a successful play here, the minions tonight would be huge, but the fact they find Rekkles here, recommitting, burning these flashes, and then the ignite get him low enough where just Jeskla can get him down in the end.
And the clutch flash at the end there from Jeskla to be able to get that Q in, finish that off. 113 is here, as is Skeanz. We might have a bit of a brawl in the bottom side. Jeskla moves forward as they found 113, and everybody just jumps on board. Bear forced to flash, but Skeanz follows him over, but he's gone too deep. Hantera trying to chase him down, but Skeanz dashes out.
I mean, just a nice job from Vitality.Bee. Again, Skeanz the right place, the right time to try and turn around 113, but top side.
I think Szygenda's got himself a solo kill here, unless Cabochard can pull some kind of magic out. He's low HP, but the needles go wide. It doesn't matter, he snipped it off.
And that is really rough to see. We said that Graves would be able to have that priority early. You take it so you can just sort of farm up into the Gwen. If you overstep like that and give her all that gold, it is going to be a disaster later.
Also, when you look at Vitality.Bee, right, like, you've just got, like, your bottom half of the map with an earlier spike, especially with the amount of gold that's been lost to Rekkles to that tower. You've now got Szygenda, who's winning on the top side of the map. When we're talking about these neutral objective fights, when we're talking about these skirmishes that are going to happen post 20 minutes, you're setting up wonderfully as Vitality.Bee for that exact situation.
113 already in another lane. I don't think these junglers want to farm today. They want to brawl. He's just going to be hovering, at least for now. Control ward goes in. That'll be Vision on the side of KCOP, as they're just going to crash this wave in the bottom side. But so far, pretty good running for the side of Vitality.
100%. And 113 is having to put out fires in the bot lane. They already had that massive disadvantage. He's been here twice to try and help Rekkles crash, and then we still end up seeing the wave held here to deny some more minions away. And critically, the fact you gank top early and then it gets solo killed, not a fun game to be a jungler in.
And the fact that you're starting the slow freeze now at 7 minutes into the game means it sets up beautifully if you want to start rotating for things like Rift Herald, if you want to start making plays around the map, because you can already see, right, this slow wave starting to accumulate, which is going to make it nigh on impossible for Rekkles and Hantera to start playing up towards the top half of the map without losing a bunch of gold. And that means Vitality.Bee just get to create even more issues for Karmine Corp.
They're just essentially dictating how the game is going to be played, and you know, we see Rekkles still down here. I feel like they're going to have to bring reinforcements, because if we see another wave being stacked into a dive, I feel like you're never going to be back to the game. I mean, look, Jeskla is 2 levels up on Rekkles right now.
Now, I actually chucked a couple of messages towards Jeskla, towards Vitality, to ask about his thoughts on the matchup up against Rekkles, as both Swedish AD carries Rekkles a world more experienced than Jeskla, despite Jeskla being one of the most experienced players in EU Masters. He's against the legend himself, Rekkles. And one of the compliments Jeskla paid towards Rekkles was how good he is at playing that weak side. Well, he's going to need that weak side experience today, because it feels like Vitality are layering all kinds of pressure down towards the Swedish AD carry.
Still might see more pressure from Karmine Corp down towards this bot side. Not actually going to use that pressure in the bot lane to go for Rift Herald. Instead, Vitality.Bee are going to set up for this first dragon. I actually think that says a lot about both these teams. When you look at like Herald percent for Karmine Corp, you're looking about 55%. When you look across at Vitality.Bee, it's only kind of in the 30%. It's not any crazy high Rift Herald, or at least first Rift Herald percent. So certainly you can see the difference in styles between these two teams.
We do see now that 113 is going for the Herald, and this is going to leave your bot lane isolated. And this tower is low enough that, honestly, you don't need the Herald potentially to take this down.
We're going to see minimum some plates taken, maximum some kills as Jactroll goes in. Skeanz on the play, and it's a beautiful kick. The feathers fly through, and Jeskla grabbing that kill credit as well, and many more CS gone. A 20 CS lead in that bottom side.
I mean, how weak can you go, Rekkles? It feels like you're kind of been left out to dry here. Vitality.Bee have done such a good job of playing around this strong bot side. Jeskla is going to be huge. Massive gold difference, a ton of turret plates, and when you're able to spike so effectively off of 2 items on this Xayah, these skirmishing and mid-game fights are going to be so terrifying on the side of Vitality.Bee.
And I feel like K-Corp now need to get massive value out of this Herald, especially if they want Rekkles to be relevant. They need to get a lot of gold injected into him, but I feel like it's so hard in this position. There is such a discrepancy between the bot lane. It's still a 2-level lead, and Jeskla is getting closer to having his first item completed.
And again, this comes back to the draft for Karmine Corp, right? We talked about SAKEN not having that impact on the Azir. We saw this in their last quarterfinals where he played 2 games of this Azir, wasn't able to get impact on the side lanes, and then they started to fall behind in the early stages. And we're kind of seeing the same play here where SAKEN can't have that map impact and the side lanes are struggling.
All right, so let's go over to the side of 113 then. If we're talking junglers, we're talking pressure on the map. Where is this Herald going to go? Where can 113 find that influence? Because we talked lane priority in the mid lane earlier. That got them the invade onto the chickens, but does that still exist? Can they still use that?
I feel like right now you're in a bit of a precarious spot because since your bot lane is always vulnerable, you can expect Jactroll to be able to move first. He's got the level advantage as well over Hantera, so he's bringing that ultimate to skirmishes. I feel like in an ideal world for K-Corp, they counter a play bot lane and then they turn that into a tower take with the Herald, but that is very optimistic thinking. You may end up resorting to having to play a cross-map situation because right now, I mean, look at Rekkles' positioning. He just can't even walk up.
Yeah, I mean, checking every bush as he tries to move forward, and that's not the position you want to be in for Karmine Corp, right? You were hoping that you'd be able to snowball through a lot of these lanes, get yourself into a good position, and you can see how low the tower is. You've got next dragon coming up in 2.5 minutes. If Vitality.Bee continue this stranglehold they have on the bottom side, they're getting more neutral objectives in their back pocket. It just feels like right now Karmine Corp, this, as we kind of rightly said, they have the tools to play in lane, but when they start to fall behind, they don't have the tools to kind of bring that back.
Yeah, I think one thing potentially is they could look to use the Herald just before the dragon spawns, right? I think it'll be close to timing out there. They could throw it mid and then use that to get a route into the dragon area because as we talked about, they kind of want to be on the objective first and that is quite difficult right now. But Vitality.Bee, they're looking for some plays topside, but a great Scrying Bloom will actually spot them out.
And maybe an opportunity for a turnaround as 113 decides not to go for Jactroll. Hantera's here as well. They're looking for Szygenda, but with Skeanz here, with Jactroll underneath the tower, I'm not sure they can brute force this play. It looks like 113 will back off in the end.
I mean, you're still losing your bot lane, right? Jeskla still has a ton of control down here. He's just going to be able to get the tower. So the fact that Karmine Corp don't get anything up top side means that they're still losing on the bottom lane. So you're pretty much happy as Vitality.Bee. And I mean, phenomenal job from Jactroll and Code to just be in the right place.
Szygenda might have stepped the wrong direction on this one as Cabochard will get some damage. Solar Flare through from Jactroll, but he can't commit to the play. And it's a 1v3 pretty much. Szygenda left out to dry by the rest of Vitality.
Yeah, a bit of an unnecessary overstep there. I honestly feel like the critical thing is when the enemy team has Herald, just stop anything from really happening and let it get to a point where they have to throw it down and not get huge results. But now, him going down means K-Corp have more members on the map. But I still feel like, you know, the ideal world for a first Herald is you get a first tower. Bot lane's nearly gone, and with Rekkles recalling, this might just be first tower for Jeskla solo.
And crucially, still a minute and 15 seconds till those plates are gone. That would be massive gold for Jeskla, as the Herald will be dropped on this top side, but it will not finish the tower. Maybe they can get 4 plates. One more auto from Cabo would just about secure that one. He's going to be near enough to finish those plates off, but now Vitality are going to punish him for it, or at least they'll try. They go slightly wide on the skill shots, but ultimately, it's a tower for just plates in favor of Vitality.
But this kind of feels a little bit unnecessary for Vitality, right? The death from Szygenda, and then also the fact that we're trying to look for a potential skirmish there. Your bot is winning so hard, I think you don't need to look for an over-aggressive play and potentially throw it away. Ideally, when you're fighting, you want both AD carries there because yours is so much stronger.
Yeah, I agree. You just try to play to your strong side of the map. Now, they will probably reset here and go straight towards this dragon, actually feeding into that strong side of the map, especially when you look, an item and a half already completed for Jeskla. Just as that play was kicking off, he had 5,500 gold already in his back pocket. This Xayah is monstrous, and I just want to see them continue this, right? You already have that bot lane taken, get this dragon, then start to rotate Jeskla around the map, and just continue to make plays around this Xayah.
And Dagda, like, I feel like Vitality.Bee's strategy goes exactly against what you talked about earlier on in the cast, that K-Corp win lanes, K-Corp get CS advantages. Rekkles has been the best farmer in the entire tournament at 10 CS per minute on average, which is an insane statistic, but Jeskla is outstripping him in this game, plus the plates on top of it, and it's because of the way Vitality are playing to set him up.
And again, I think it also comes back to like the setup that we talked about in lanes, right? Skeanz has a lot more setup to play around bot lane, like Jactroll, Leona, phenomenal engage. You look at Karmine Corp, it's like, Braum, maybe, SAKEN, maybe at level 6, Cabochard, well, you're not going to help him out too much. It just feels like you haven't given yourself the tools as Karmine Corp to set up for those strong lanes. It was more about those counter ganks.
Yeah, I mean, you even found that early gank in the top lane, but ultimately Graves doesn't have fantastic setup. So it went from, okay, we found a gank to we can't really follow up anymore, and then they had to just play defensive around bot.
So what's the game plan here for K-Corp? Because we could see the Drake being taken for Vitality.Bee, and we saw their 1-1-3 like toying with the idea of a play. They're only 1,000 gold down, but it doesn't feel like they have the right to make a play right.
Yeah, I don't really agree with 1-1-3 kind of sitting watching this dragon being taken. I would have loved to try and see him like work with Cabochard here, push in top, and then you can establish vision control, like try and get for that next Rift Herald. Maybe then you can start to crack open some turrets, look to cross map effectively, but it just feels like now, okay, well, Vitality.Bee gets reset. They now get to be in a position where they can actually contest this next Herald, and they've even moved Jeskla up to the top side. So again, they're playing towards their strengths.
And I think one of the things is typically when you see a team behind, a great thing you can do is look for numbers advantages, right? And look for picks and fast engages. Isn't as many tools for K-Corp, so they are going to try and get set up on this Herald initially, but Vitality.Bee look like they're going to respond.
Do want to fight for this one, and that's another spike. That's twice now. 1-1-3 managing to grab those chickens away, but ultimately still 20 CS down, so it's not really something to write home about just yet.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's trying his damnedest, but again, it just feels like Vitality.Bee are in a phenomenal spot here. And as we said, Jeskla pushes to the top. Now they get to contest this Rift Herald, and you know, Rekkles has basically been left on his lonesome in the bot lane, going, "Hey, please, can I please get some CS?" And Szygenda's like, "No, you can't."
Rekkles takes a third of his HP for nothing. 1-1-3 goes in. Here's the play. Feathers come out. Skeanz going to play safe, trying to protect Jactroll here. The Feathers can come back, and there goes the bear. Vitality pull the trigger and blow K-Corp apart. Skeanz with a cheeky little flash kick on top of everything else. There's a bonus little kill. Skeanz gets the triumph, and it's a triumph in more ways than one.
And I just don't see a window where K-Corp are going to win that. They just funnel into a choke against the Xayah. The Feathers come down, the resets are there for the Vex, and this is just icing on the cake for Vitality.Bee.
And look, I think this is why myself and a lot of the analysts have been kind of saying, look, we think Vitality.Bee are just a stronger team. When you come to these skirmishes, when you come to the ability to play the map, it feels like Vitality.Bee have been so good at getting these leads. And look how long Jeskla holds off on these Feathers. It means that he ends up getting so many people with that. And it means that Vitality.Bee are just able to pounce. You have the numbers advantage, you have the gold advantage, you have the summoner spells as well there for Skeanz to get the kickback onto Cabochard. It all comes up trumps for Vitality.Bee.
That triumph literally in the last split second before the tower shot hits. Skeanz looking good on the Lee Sin today, has to be said, consistently finding these kick flashes. and setting his team up for success. And now with a Herald as well, they can start to build the momentum. And that's been the big criticism of Vitality.Bee across the tournament, right? In the mid-game, sometimes they slow down a little bit. I'm not sure we're going to be seeing much slowing down as K-Cup try to move in, but looks like Vitality will just grab this Herald. What do we want to see? How do they close this game out in a good fashion?
Well, I think grabbing mid-tier 1 for the second Herald is definitely how you want to use it. An ideal time is in 2 minutes when you have the next dragon spawning. You can throw it down there, get that big charge onto it, lower it down, or potentially take it, and then you move into the dragon. And at that point, you're on soul point, and you're in a really comfortable position. Vitality.Bee, it should just be clean sailing.
Yeah, especially when we look at like a conversation we had earlier on, right? Was like Karmine Corp needing to set up on these objectives early. They have a front line in 113 and Hantera that very much needs you to be in front of them so they can kind of defend their flanks. But if Vitality.Bee are able to set up like Szygenda coming in at one angle, Diplex coming in with another, this becomes incredibly difficult for Karmine Corp to actually deal with the amount of flank opportunities that Vitality.Bee have.
Especially if you don't have vision control in the area, you start to push in. Instantly you feel the lack of vision around, and it starts to almost collapse on you, and
it's
that's where the
scary.
Gwen and the Vex
Feels like a Nocturne's in the game all of a sudden. It's just darkness everywhere. Yeah, it's a tough one. And I have to say, Vitality, they're coming out the gates today, right? 2,000 gold lead as we broach the 20-minute mark here. A minute until that Drake that we've just been talking about. And that's got to feel good when this is a team that Vitality.Bee didn't get to play in the LFL playoffs, managed to get a higher seed than them after they both lost to the same team anyway. It feels like a little bit of revenge to start the day off for Vitality.
You need to start messaging people. I have a formal complaint. This is not how I wanted this to go. Please look at these games.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the seeding doesn't matter here at the Amazon EU Masters. So long as you win your games, you'll go forward in the tournament. LDLC certainly winning their games on the other side. So you got to look good today. Whoever wins up against LDLC, you're going to have your work cut out in the finals. So it's Vitality.Bee with the advantage so far. 20 seconds till this Drake. Are we going to see a contest?
I mean, I think they're going to contest. I don't think they should, though. I mean, in this position, right? Like, zero vision control. Again, those flank angles all being set up for Diplex. Like, thank you, observers. Like, look how dark this river is. Like, how do you try and move in here as Karmine Corp when you've just got so many angles of attack here for Vitality.Bee?
It's so scary, and all it needs is like one Vexel from the Fog of War to clip someone, and that can just be it. So they opt not to move in, which I think is the right call. But there's not really much they can do because they brought all their members down to fish for the potential opportunity, and you get nothing from it, and then you don't end up trading across the map.
And this is one of the big criticisms that I've actually had of Karmine Corp is their inability to play side lanes and inability to play the map. Oftentimes they kind of go, hey, we're going to win through the sheer power of our lanes, and then we're going to brute force team fight, and look to beat you that way. But when it actually comes down to like situations like this where, hey, look, maybe you can look to cross map. You get vision control in like top side of Vitality.Bee's jungle. Maybe you can put pressure for the tier 2. We never really see that, and I think it's coming back to bite Karmine Corp here, where they don't feel comfortable taking fights, but they don't really know what they should be doing on the map instead of just sitting at this dragon.
Yeah, just to wrap that up, if it's a win lane team, they don't win lane. What you doing?
Yeah, I think we've all seen Invictus Gaming. We all know what happens when they don't win lane. Although, to be honest, it's not really true anymore. I digress. We don't need to talk about IG. It's just a fun topic, is all. 113 wants to steal another camp as he moves in. Skeanz just going to back away with this red buff. He'd love to give this over to Jeskla, and he will be able to do so in the end. 113 tries to go for the chickens. This time around, it doesn't work. Skeanz, he's going to be eaten tonight.
But actually, you can see Szygenda got prior in the bot lane, has moved up here, so K-Corp have to completely disengage. Vitality.Bee are going to be able to push in up to the mid tier 2, and then after that, sweep across this side of the map and contest the vision.
All right, ult forced out for 113. It's a trade of ult support for jungle. But ultimately, it's just Vitality.Bee bruisering their way forward, right? Just taking complete control. And now that Baron area, no vision for the side of K-Corp. Aside from one little ward that's behind enemy territory there. So maybe a TP angle, maybe some kind of miracle play can be there for K-Corp.
I mean, it feels like it right now. You need something that has to happen. And look, you do have some good late game scaling, right? Like, if you can draw at this game, let's say can get to a later point, Rekkles get to a later point, you do actually have some options to try and fight back. It just feels so hard to do so right now. And that's not even taking into account, like, Szygenda scaling as well. So you do definitely feel the pinch here for Karmine Corp, but maybe some miracle play with a SAKEN swoop and boop could be it, but it just feels so hard to do.
I think one of the painful things as well, for anyone that missed the start of this game, like, you look at the difference between the AD carries and you think, oh, you know, Jeskla's a bit ahead. That's not in... Oh, Not an ideal kick from Skeanz there as Cabochard now trying to get under the tower. I thought Vitality.Bee were just going to commit anyway. Cabochard uses his flash, and that'll be all that's burnt as the rest of the team pinging their way over. 1-1-3 moving over as well, but Jactroll and Jeskla going to try and cut off the retreat. Jactroll! The sun was in his eyes. The sun was in his eyes.
Hey, it was a 50-50. He's going one way or the other. You know, and he ended up picking wrong, but ultimately, I mean, off the back of the play, ult bin for Vitality.Bee's top and jungle, but it's a flash bin for Cabochard, something he now won't have for that next dragon fight, so a little bit unfortunate for him, but ultimately I feel like flash for Graves isn't the prime thing. A lot of summoners still available across the board, and I feel like 2 minutes we have the Cloud Soul. I don't think it's the most impactful soul for the roster that Vitality.Bee have, but still, the question will be, do KCOP feel like they have to contest this one?
I mean, personally, I think you kind of just back away from it. I think, again, trying to play towards sides, like, set up for a potential Baron. Like, Karmine Corp have a reasonably fast Baron with the composition that they have as well. So I think if you can try and trade position on the map, that would probably be your best bet.
Potentially, if you get Vitality.Bee to funnel in to contest the Baron, that's where you could see KCOP not necessarily taking a fight they'll win, but giving themselves the best odds as possible at this current state in the game.
I have to say, gents, I'm listening to you guys converse about how this game goes, and, you know, the gold is not that dramatic of a lead. Like, 3,000 is still a comfortable lead for Vitality with the Drakes as well. But I feel like it's all very negative conversation for KCOP. Like, is this just a draft difference? Is this just one of those games where this draft isn't going to work?
It's more so about, like, when the power spikes are for me. Like, you look at the Eclipse and the Muramana already complete for Jeskla. Crazy strong. Void Staff now coming in for Diplex. He's hit a really strong spot. It feels like you've got the majority of Vitality.Bee online, raring to go, and they've got the next dragon coming up, and it feels like they're going to be quite strong for the next, 10 minutes, let's say, where you've got maybe like an Elder Dragon now on the board, which is going to cause even more issues. You're still waiting on that for Karmine Corp because Rekkles is behind, and you've got this Azir that needs a third item to really be relevant.
Do you see them looking to try and contest his vision, and honestly doing a decent job of it?
1-1-3, he dodges everything, just running around the pit, has his flash available if he needs to use it. That's a fear, though. Everfrost goes slightly wide. 1-1-3 does not want to leave. He finally commits to getting out of the pit.
Gone, though, right? And Dragon's in 15 seconds. You're not getting that back.
And exactly, Volibear, not exactly the tankiest of members either. So the fact you don't have that engage tool plus the extra health it provides is actually going to be a bit of a problem here for 1-1-3.
Cabochard could be in trouble on this one, but look at the damage he's popping out. His Skeanz goes under the tower, but he's not going to be tanking. That's the wrong tower. My brain just exploded on that one. Skeanz almost went down, though. KCOP with a man disadvantage now, but health bars to work.
Yeah, no Gromp up, though. That'd be ideal if he's able to heal off. You can see he's even waiting there. It's spawning now, so they're going to try and stall out. He can heal a massive amount of Gromp. You can see they even smite it. Suddenly he's in full HP again, and he can rejoin. How broken is Gromp, by the way?
On Gromp, dude. On Gromp right here. Skeanz, though, few seconds until that smite's back up, but he had 2 charges, so he's okay on this one. Remember, this is Soul. If Vitality.Bee can grab it for themselves, Jeskla has the feathers to burst it, but in goes Diplex to buy space. 1-1-3, forced away. In goes Jactroll, but immediately bursts down. Rekkles firing away, trying to build the stacks in the meantime. Hantera backs off on a TP. KCOP now want to push forwards, but they don't really have any way to force a fight.
Yeah, I think Vitality.Bee started chasing, kind of realized, no, this isn't the best plan into their composition. Jactroll a little bit too fast on the trigger finger there, but ultimately Vitality.Bee got what they wanted.
Yeah, it was a ton of damage on the Jactroll. Didn't even get the Angels of the Legion off either, and you can see here Skeanz just manages to chase down Cabochard with Szygenda, but look how much is invested here, right? You get both Szygenda's ult and Skeanz ult for the next ensuing fight, so 2 big tools used by the Gwen and the Lee Sin. And as we start to fast forward this one, a great engage from Diplex. You do get the fear, but Jactroll already super low, just gets completely burst out. It means that you can't follow up, but now 1-1-3.
Oh no, that's not where you want to be. 1-1-3, he's going to get kicked back, he's going to get finished off. It's an easy kill for Jeskla, and with a jungler down and Baron on the map, and already the lead for Vitality.Bee. Cabochard, Skeanz one-hops to get close to Cabochard, but takes a lot of damage for his trouble. Will be forced away. Solar Flare goes slightly wide. Szygenda trying to get the needle work in, but can't quite find his targets. It's still control, though, for Vitality, and that's been the name of every single fight.
And it feels like they're about to go over and start baiting this Baron, seeing if they can draw Karmine Corp in, and with the amount of zone control that you have here, they could look to just re-engage this, but it looks like Vitality.Bee Gonna just back away instead, not gonna try and take the fight against Karmine Corp.
Yeah, I think still precarious, right? The carries are starting to come online for Karmine Corp, particularly Azir close to Rabadon's. We saw how much damage the Graves is doing now. The gold lead that was more significant early isn't as relevant now. So Vitality.Bee, they're still in a very good spot. They're still in control, but you can definitely see they're being measured with it. They don't want to overstep.
So we'll see if Vitality.Bee can keep this gold lead going. But one thing I do want to mention is that these two teams have the highest kills per game, like the average kills every game, of the entire tournament, right? K-Corp in first place, Vitality.Bee in second place. But I don't feel like this has been a very high kill game just yet.
Yeah, well, the reason that we see these high average kills per game is generally because, especially for Vitality.Bee, they kind of struggle to close out games. They oftentimes end up using these neutral objectives to find fights, so they have one of the highest average game times as well, which is why Vitality.Bee haven't really got a foothold where Karmine Corp, they can take them down.
Szygenda going to use his needle work. He'll be okay. Uses the ghost. Oh, actually, he didn't even use ghost.
It's a Cloud Soul.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah, it's actually really nice.
Just moves the speed of light.
Yeah, I mean, you see Gwen's wanting to take Ghost anyway, and you get the advantage. I feel like he's probably the biggest beneficiary of it all.
That's going to be a root coming down onto Hantera. In goes Skeanz. Hantera's tanky, but not tanky enough. And Rekkles just doesn't have the damage to return it just yet. Almost 300 CS, though. After that terrible early game, after being bodied in the early game, look at Rekkles' CS. He's still on 10 per minute.
Yeah, they've just given him every wave across the bot lane to make sure they could get back into this game, but can he now carry the ensuing fight?
Critically, no support, so no wards to throw down. This is super scary for K-Corp to approach, but they have to try.
113's moving on over 5k on the Baron. 113 has to make a miracle happen for K-Corp here, but it's just going to be a burst from Vitality.Bee. No, 1,600 remaining. That's real low. Into the pit they go, and it's 113 with the steal. They get a bonus kill onto Jactroll as well, but now Cabochard low. Skeanz just gets out with his life. K-Corp have somehow found a window.
Why did they leave? Vitality.Bee take it down to about 1,500 health, and they're like, you know what, lads, here it is on a silver platter. Like, why do you leave?
Man, helping out the other LFL team with that one. Like, do you want a Baron, guys? They got it so low. I think if you're scared about the steal, you back off far sooner, right? They left it just way too late, and it's a good initial pick coming out. The extra gold for Vitality.Bee just means they can burst to Braum far quicker than the enemy team can burst to Leona. But then it's this play, and it's like, if you're gonna back off 3k HP, I feel like that's like a safe number.
Yeah, but it's also like kind of a miscommunication, right? Diplex is looking for the pick. He wants to try and go in. You got the rest of the Vitality.Bee DPS, and it's like, take your pick. What one do you want? Jactroll misses with the Zenith blade, and now 113, like, it's just totally fine here. You even have the kick there for the Lee Sin if you want.
They don't even have smite.
I mean,
they don't even have smite.
Oh my god, this is, and the fact that Skeanz is completely out of the picture
That's
here.
An auto attack.
91 HP, like,
no.
113 doesn't even nail the smite.
I mean, look, with enemies like these, who needs friends?
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. 9-4, it's so for Vitality.Bee, but K-Corp find themselves a miracle Baron. Now Diplex, maybe gonna go for a play onto 113. It will just be KC backing off once more.
So remember you asked, how did Karmine Corp get back into the game? I feel like we kind of found it, because a minute now until the Elder Dragon.
I don't think he can plan for that.
Look, executed to perfection, planned to a T. This is exactly what Karmine Corp, they knew exactly where Vitality.Bee were in their sights.
And now with the Baron buff, so easy for them to get mid-push, and we talked, I think they're going to put the tower down here as well, how important it was for K-Corp to be on the objective first. With that tower in place with the Baron buff, they should be able to get in the river and set up control.
Look at the bot side of the map, though. We've got the sneaky agents in the backline, Skeanz and Szygenda. See if they can hide out and maybe get a flank here. Hantera, though, starting to ward up the sides, making sure that he can spot out for Skeanz.
Skeanz wants to try and find the flank. Cabochard could be a target, but not going to commit to this one. 15 seconds on this Elder Dragon. Vitality.Bee need this objective to clinch the win that they've all but earned until that Baron play. Skeanz and Szygenda off on the backside once more. Feels like KC, though, they're buying themselves space.
I mean, a lot of space being bought here, and again, that really good ward from Hantera making such a difference. Now, though, Jeskla starting up the Elder.
Yeah, critically, the fact they're constantly fighting to stop this flank from happening makes such a big difference. K-Corp in a comfortable spot to push up here.
Here we go. The Elder Dragon will reset on this one. Skeanz backs off to his team. Both teams so nervous to go for this Elder Dragon. They don't want to flip it, but they might just have to. It might have to be that 5v5 we've all been waiting for. 32 minutes on the clock. It's a Q out from Skeanz, but won't follow up for now.
Diplex doesn't really feel comfortable to look for the flank, which means you're getting this front to back for Karmine Corp. Szygenda now, trying to see if he can set up. It feels like this is going to be the game-defining fight.
I feel like Vitality.Bee are kind of getting poked out. Cabochard's all actually doing massive damage across the team of Vitality.Bee. And Elder Dragon has been at 9k for so long.
I feel like we're watching the hokey pokey from Vitality.Bee. It's like Szygenda goes in, then he comes out. Skeanz goes in, Skeanz comes out.
Guys.
Diplex is still kind of going like, are we playing musical chairs yet? What's the story?
Jactroll forced to flash away. Solar Flare came out as well. But he will get out with his life. And we return to the dance.
The minion waves will eventually end if they keep staying on the dragon. Given enough time.
It's possible. KC on the Baron. Skeanz down to half of his HP as Szygenda trying to move on over once more. Jactroll is nowhere near right now. He's in the base. He's trying to move his way over. But Szygenda just going to go 1v5. Going to try and force the play. Diplex uses his Shadow Surge. He's not going to follow up, at least for now. Szygenda has to turn golden. They've bought space. They've bought time. Jactroll returning to the team. And we disengage once more. This is the longest non-fight I've ever seen.
I mean, look, we said that these neutral objective fights were going to be make or break, but, you know, I thought they'd maybe break one side a little bit faster.
People are resetting. They're just like, oh, do you want to take a break? Yeah, go back to base.
Yeah. That's some orange.
Gentlemen's agreement. They all shake hands. This is like Christmas Day in World War II. They all came out of the trenches and played a game of footy in the middle. Let's just have a ceasefire for a moment. Ever a reset. Let's start this one again.
Madness. Absolute madness.
Incredible.
I mean, look, you go back, you get the oranges, you resuit and boot yourselves, and you go again. But, I mean, a lot of what you look at the wave states is like Vitality.Bee now getting that slow push that's happening on the top side of the map. You got this wave they can play with in bot, a little bit of priority for them in the mid lane as well. But, again, kind of the lines have been drawn for Vitality.Bee in the river. But now it's Vitality.Bee who are getting into the river first, starting to deny that space from Karmine Corp. And now it starts to play into the hands of Vitality.Bee that little bit more.
And critically as well, though, vision will be reset, right? You'll get all your wards back, which means that once again, you saw the fight Vitality.Bee had to try and clear out the vision on the flanks. They're going to have to go through that whole song and dance again. It really was a song and dance.
I'm ready.
It wasn't a song and dance, it was a whole damn musical. As Jactroll going to try and force the fight. Solo player down, Cabochard low. It's going to be 1-1-3 with his ult, and will be KC backing away. But remember, this is how their comp likes to work. They want to kite back.
Good call from Karmine Corp as well, because with Szygenda in that front line, the damage that's going to be coming through from that needlework is going to be insane. Same with the feathers. So good call to kind of go clear. This is not a corridor that we want to fight in.
And critically, look at the ults on both teams. There is so many still available for the side of K-Corp and so few for Vitality.Bee.
Szygenda on the flank, though. No needlework, but he can still do work on that Gwen. Just his scissors alone. And he's going to go straight for Hantera. That's just going to be massive damage onto the Braum. 1-1-3. Now going on to Szygenda as the rest of Vitality need to move over. They need to help their top laner Skeanz, trying to do what he can, but he actually managed to get out with his life. 1 HP, barely surviving, but survive they do. And Elder resets once more.
It's going to happen again. This is where we go through. Reset for Dragon.
Guys, got a timeout,
Don't worry, TPs are coming through shortly. We can reset in about another 2 minutes.
TP to the bottom lane here from Diplex as he returns to the play. I'm amazed nobody has visited a side lane in about 2 days at this stage.
What do you call this? Like, if ARAM is the mid lane, like, are we just all in river, all random, all river?
Drag ram? I don't know.
I like drag ram.
Here we go, 6k on the Elder. It looks like Vitality might actually commit now. Shadow Surge goes out. Is Diplex gonna pull the trigger? It's on to 1-1-3. The answer is no. 4k on the Elder. Will they actually pull the trigger on this one? Diplex gets the fear. The rest of Vitality jump in. Health bars are low though. There's one for SAKEN. Dragon low. Cabochard on the Elder. Jeskla flashing out. SAKEN low on HP. Skeanz will fall. K-Corp.
For real?
They did
it! For real? This is how this ends.
Just about.
Unbelievable. K-Corp, against all odds, somehow, finally, get themselves the Elder. It feels like Vitality forgot that they were fighting over the Elder in the first place.
Yeah, I love Cabochard just sitting there soloing it out. Oh, I don't know. There's no words for this. There's honestly no words.
This has been a game. This has definitely been a game of League of Legends. the longest scrap over Elder I have ever seen in my life. That was like 5-6 minutes, like just of nothing but Elder.
If they just killed it, it would have respawned by the end of it.
It's the same thing again, right? Like, Vitality.Bee get this dragon far too low, then they look for the fight. But the problem is, as you said, like, Cabochard's just sitting in the back line. Jeskla, the only one that kind of has his head on his shoulders to go,
he just walks away.
maybe I can get it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the fact that that goes over is insane. Now you can see they're going to get Baron. Like,
and look how low both teams' health bars were at the end. It was so obvious that anyone who got Elder just wins.
Yeah.
I'm going to be totally honest. After watching LDLC yesterday, and now watching the way these two teams are interacting around Elder Dragon, I'm real scared for whoever has to go up against LDLC.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't add to that.
that was incredible.
But
I
hopefully,
can't wait to see this on Twitter and
Look,
like air all the analyst desk later. You know,
at the end of the day, right? This is only game one. We've got a whole best of 5 ahead of us. It's a bit of a warm up. We have to have a bit of a warm up on the cast test. The players have to have a bit of a warm up. KC crucially coming out on top of all of the Elder Dragon shenanigans. They've now got a Baron as well. That's their second Baron of the game. Has to be said. You know, the Drakes, Vitality.Bee did a great job until Elder. But when it comes to these game-ending neutrals, it's not look good for them.
And I think now things get a bit tricky for Vitality.Bee, not just because of the buffs, but also the defensive items coming in. Witsend on Rekkles, SAKEN has the Zhonya's and the Banshee, Cabochard with the more, and they're just pushing up mid.
Yeah, Jeskla low on HP, already using the ult. Skeanz behind enemy lines, kicks SAKEN into the team, but he turns gold and keeps himself safe. KC staying grouped to Jactroll, just gets one shot. Cabochard now going to chase away Skeanz. The dot is ticking, but he will survive. SAKEN got out. Feels like everything's going wrong for Vitality.
I mean, yeah, it ain't looking pretty right now for Vitality. Elder Dragon's still available. TP's coming through. Skeanz has been chased by Cap. Do not take that.
He's going to go. His mind is telling him no. But his body is also saying no. Apparently, he goes for the recall.
I mean, look, it's for the best, right? At least, though, because you don't have Cabo in the base, Vitality have actually held on to this. So despite they lost Elder, despite they lost Baron, they haven't really lost too much, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think part of it's K-Corp, you know, really just true to this game, ignoring the side lanes and being like, we're going to end through mid, which is kind of hard to do, so we'll back away in the end. And now Elder buff timed out. Baron has got about a minute left, but you know, this is a reprieve for Vitality.Bee.
Hilariously, we talked about how the fact that these two teams have really, really long average game times, really, really high average kills per game. I feel like the game time thing has come true, but the way that this game has happened has meant we've just been toying with the idea of team fights for the last 30 minutes, basically. It's kind of insane to see how it's all panned
But that's the thing, right? We actually said for Karmine Corp, if they can stall out this game, I mean, they're in a great spot. Alk's already kind of hit on it, but you're looking at, like, Rabadon's now for the Azir. He's very much going towards that Void Staff now. He'll be full build in a moment. You nearly have Rekkles at the same point. So, like, this Lethality Xayah, the spikes in the mid game, not going to be as relevant. Diplex as well, because he's gone for the Everfrost, not going to be able to do as much damage. This is where you actually start to see the carries for Karmine Corp be able to take over in these fights.
And ultimately as well for Szygenda, it's quite difficult actually for the Gwen to play in these team fights. You see often like charges forward to try and make an impact, but there's so many tools to kind of dissuade him. The Braum stun, the Shurima shuffle, just being able to push him away, and there's a lot of DPS that gets thrown down onto him. He seems a lot squishier than you typically expect to see from a Gwen.
Especially with the Banshee's Veil and the Zhonya's, like, you'd imagine he'd be able to, but it just feels like Vitality haven't been able to find these flanks. And talk about Hantera's warding, I think that's been the big issue for them, is just not being able to get multiple different angles of attack, and Karmine Corp have been able to hold their defense.
So my question then is, for Vitality.Bee, how did they win one of these fights? Because like you're saying, it feels like KC have now got to this position where they can kite back, they can just DPS people as they come in. Like, does it just have to be one big coordinated dive together?
You need backline access, right? It doesn't have to be everyone together, but you have to get enough people on the pivotal targets, blow them up, and then clean up the fight from there. Because I think if it goes into a front to back, you're just never winning.
Vitality, Skeanz play with fire on that one, but he dashes out just in time, doesn't actually take any damage in the end. As Jeskla actually having a great game for himself, right? When you look at the numbers, when you look at the item build, like, he's been doing pretty great. Unfortunately, not been able to transition that into much in these fights, and that's half of Jactroll's HP gone. I feel like this Graves from Cabochard, he's just ulting for poke on cooldown, and it's working.
I have some news.
Yeah, I see
Elder is spawning shortly.
I know.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Well,
he's got popcorn. Has anyone got any snacks? No.
I can go put some on. We have time.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
let me just text LEC Production, see if we can get some snacks on the desk. We'll have to see how this next one's gonna go. Okay, right. So, you know, we're laughing about it. Oh, hang on. Do we have a fight? Szygenda and Cabochard. Just gonna high five in the river and back away. Okay, we've got Elder coming up. What were they doing wrong last time? What can they do right this time?
So I feel like a lot of it is kind of, oh, hang on.
Oh, Szygenda and Rekkles in a 1v1. And somehow Rekkles is winning this one against the top laner. I guess they're both level 18, but will just result in not a lot again.
Critical thing though, Ghost Bird now not going to be available for that fight. Ult does come up really fast. I mean, look at the ult, how quickly the cooldown's coming up, so that's no biggie. But Szygenda down a tool, definitely an optimal land. Oh, they're looking for an engage.
1-1-3 does dodge away from the Q, but not from the Zenith Blade. Jactroll trying to get onto the enemy jungler. He's kind of separated though. Diplex needs to move over and save his support. Jactroll in huge trouble. In with the Shadow Surge. Diplex jump in on. It's going to be Rekkles taken down. And SAKEN kicked by Cleans himself. It's going to be a win for Vitality.Bee. After all of that rigmarole, they somehow find the fight.
That was huge from Vitality.Bee. It looks messy, it looks a little bit scrappy, but Skeanz with their kick saves it all. And Vitality.Bee, they may have just done it.
But Cabochard just cleared a lot of the wave. You can try and stall for time. They need to kill that cannon.
Certainly do 1-1-3, jumping in, actually going for the cannon, but there's still a melee minion. And Cabochard buying time, buying space, but the minions are surviving for long enough. And after 43 minutes, Vitality.Bee take game one.
They found the fight, but I cannot believe they came back in the game after losing out on the Elder, losing out on the Baron. It seemed like that was KCOP's game.
I have no idea what we just watched. Like the fact that we went from like super strong early game for Vitality.Bee, then coming into that late game where it's like, okay, well, Elder Dragon and Baron have both gone to Karmine Corp and they're like, yeah, we don't know what to do here.
Yeah,
so it's just gone back to Vitality.Bee. Like, what happened?
Win early, do a bit of trolling, close the game out.
Easy. Sign it off.
All according to the game plan for Vitality.Bee. What a game. What an amazing team fight by Vitality.Bee to secure first blood of the series. Can Karmine Corp come back from this, though? Find out after the break.
Zaki, tu as déjà commencé?
De se balader jusque vers le boss lane, mais Rekkles maintenant est couvert par la wave.
Les dégâts sont énormes.
Nie odpuścicie, jak widzicie nie stało. Lecisz do Polska, do przodu, białe, czerwoni. Polska góra.
Dobra, najważniejsze jest to. Algo Rogue wychodzi z tej grupy.
Vamos a ver si puede cerrar aquí el partido Fnatic.
Vamos ganando, hijo.
Porque es Fnatic sin queso.
And they're going to take that last victory home.
And they advance to the Amazon EU Masters Finals. They take that Nexus and they get their rewards. Just like you! Have you got your rewards yet? Look at your phone. You got this week's rewards.
What did you guys get?
I got a Teemo skin. Not bad.